It's time for Watts on Wealth Radio with Barry Watts and your host, Ralph Hipp.
If you're nearing retirement wondering how to make your wealth work for you, you are not alone. Many pre-retirees are asking, will my savings last? Am I ready for the unexpected? Barry Watts will give us his wisdom and an hour of his time, and will use his decades of knowledge about retirement savings to answer those questions and more. Hi, this is Ralph Hipp, and welcome into another Sunday Watts on Wealth radio show. And Barry and I, we really cherish the time we get to actually connect with each other here. Hello, Barry. How have you been? It's good to connect with you again, sir, and hear your voice.
Hey, Ralph, I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you today, and good to hear you as well.
And, well, where do you want to start here? I love to follow your travails and travels on Facebook, and you're back from Scotland and Ireland and the United Kingdom. And what's been going on over there?
Well, I have no idea what's going on over there. I wasn't there long enough to be involved in the political scene, but it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Travails is kind of the way to express it, by the way. If you have the opportunity to fly out of SGF, well, I almost would have to say don't if you can avoid it. And that's not really fair because flying is difficult everywhere these days. I have a tremendous amount of difficulty with American Airlines. 11 out of the past 11 trips I've made, American has had me late by a significant amount of time.
You're batting 1,000
part of the way, and I had to get a car to go the rest of the way, or got me there and didn't get my bags there or something like that. And this trip was no different than that. But we didn't let that interfere with our enjoyment of the British Isles in the United Kingdom. So it was a lot of fun. I'd been to England before. I'd never been to Ireland or Scotland. We didn't get to include Wales on this trip, but we did get Ireland and Northern Ireland, I should say. And technically, those are two different countries. That was one of the interesting things is I got to ask questions about that and learn how it all came to be and how they feel about one another, because there's just this arbitrary line that you cross and you're suddenly in Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom, and Ireland itself is not a part of the UK. So that's a weird thing in and of itself, but beautiful countryside. I would recommend Scotland. Of course, my people are from Scotland.
Oh,
really.
Good.
More of them there than anywhere. And so the minute that Kelly and I arrived there, we felt quite at home. The countryside is a lot like the Ozarks, and we saw a lot of farms, of course. And we got to visit the castle where William Wallace, Braveheart, yelled freedom. And that's one of my favorite movies, by the way.
That's a good one.
That made kind of a fun trip. So if you're traveling and you've never traveled outside the U.S. and you want to travel outside the U.S., my recommendation of a really easy place to start would be the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, that part of the world, because they're just our folks with a funny little accent. And that's a place that I think you would do well. While I was gone, though, something kind of interesting happened to one of our Springfield buddies.
Yes.
Billy Long lost his job after, I think, 54 days or something like that.
Didn't he say, Mr. Trump said, you're fired? Did it happen that way?
I guess that's what happened. Which that's kind of weird, because the news release was that he was being fired from the IRS, but he's going to be hired as the ambassador to Iceland. And a lot of people look at that and they kind of smirk Iceland, because they think Iceland is an iceberg. Actually, Iceland is a beautiful green isle. It's Greenland that's icy. Iceland is green. And so it's not a bad gig. And the rumor was that Billy wanted to be an ambassador in the first place, and the IRS job was the second place for him. So I don't really know what to think about that. But I suppose the announcement will come shortly that Billy's going to Iceland as the ambassador. And somebody else will be taking care of the tax problems, so you can't go over to Highland Springs and barge the gate and run to Billy's house and say, doggone it, where's my tax return? Wouldn't it be funny if you did that, as if you think he would know?
He'll go, I'm not in charge of that. I think it's Steve Bessent, that Treasury Secretary, is going to run the IRS for a while, as I recall. And you got my video when I sent that to you. You probably already heard about Billy by the time I sent it. But I sent you a little video to watch about that. But that was strange after 2 months.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think about it. But there's a lot that happens in Washington I don't know what to think about. So, hey, Ralph, I've got some guests here in the studio. Really not guests, but we will call them co-hosts. And I just wanted to kind of get their voices on the air and introduce them to people. Here at WealthCare, one of our strengths is our team of people. We've got about 20 people now who are here to serve our clients day in and day out. And a couple of them are here in the studio with me. You've heard them before. Matt Dean and Jeremy Zikafus, who are retirement designers at WealthCare, are both here on the show. Guys, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thank you, Barry. Ralph, good to hear from you again, buddy.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, lovely to have, I was going to chip in, lovely to have all three of you contributing to the conversation today.
Well, I don't know if you get 3 times your money or not, but I hope so. So I'm really glad to have these guys in my world. Yeah.
Could I give your phone number before you get started? It's 417-200-3500. You know that if you're a fan of the show. 417 in Springfield, 200-3500 to call and chat with Barry and Matt and Jeremy on your own.
Well, here's the deal about Matt and Jeremy and the rest of the team too, but these two guys in particular. You will never find 2 individuals who care more, who pay more attention to detail, who are more committed to clients, and they're really a part of our 50-year plan. You know, Ralph, I turned 62 recently, so I'm eligible for Social Security. I'm not signing up, by the way.
No, wait on it.
I'm technically eligible. I'm not very happy about that, by the way, about saying I'm 62 years old. How the heck did that happen? Because I feel like I'm 30 or 32. But here we are at 62, so I'm not going to be here forever. My plan is to work maybe another 10 years or so, but we are developing a strong stable of young guys. Matt and Jeremy are both in their late 20s, and they've already learned the craft. And so they've got a great runway ahead of them. Here at WealthCare, I'm trying to build a 50-year plan so that our family can take care of your family. And so that we have a cohesive plan to serve not only you throughout all of your retirement years, but to serve your children as well. Because we recognize that building wealth is really hard. And once you get it built, you want to preserve it. The paychecks are going to stop when you retire, and you need to be sure that you know where your monthly cash flow is going to come from. And monthly cash flow planning is our specialty here at WealthCare. In fact, we had a client we onboarded just recently. I think one of these guys helped this client. I don't know which one of you it was. But he sent us an email and he said, "You are just what I was looking for." And then he referenced our income planning and our investment management and our tax strategies and long-term care and Medicare supplements and estate planning. And what he said in his email, besides saying you're just what I was looking for, is he said, I was wanting to get all these things under one roof where it could be taken care of in a coordinated way. And that's what we specialize at WealthCare. So if you're interested in that and you think it's something that would be helpful to you, we would encourage you to give us a call. The number is 417-200-3500. Just tell the folks that you heard us on the radio and you'd like an opportunity to come sit down and visit with us. When you come, leave your checkbook aside. Don't bring it with you because we're not going to be doing any business that day. We're just going to talk about what it is that you need, talk about the way that we help people, and see whether or not there's a way that we can be of assistance to you.
Very good, sir. So Barry and Matt and Jeremy, a lot of our fans listening in, they've worked very hard to build their wealth and worried about preserving it as they get ready to transition into retirement. Guys, what would you say is step one to help ensure their financial stability?
Well, the first step of any plan when it comes to retirement is going to be building a holistic retirement plan. One of the mistakes that we get oftentimes is people tend to think it's only about investments. And that was kind of the consideration that, Barry, you had bumped into just a couple days ago with Jeremy. Is that right?
Well, I had a guy come in who had ostensibly $12 million is what he told us. We never got far enough to figure out whether he really had the $12 million or not. But we started through the conversation and he's like, could we just not have this small talk? He said, I just want to know, how should I invest my money? Just tell me the bottom line. How should I invest? Well, I don't know him. I don't know his risk tolerance. I don't know his tax situation. There are all kinds of things I don't know about him. I can't tell him how to invest yet. And so he said, well, how about if I just leave my wife and she'll answer all these questions for you? And then I'll come back when you're ready to tell me how to invest. And the answer is no, you can't do that. He really was pretending it was just all about how he's going to make the investments. And investments are really only about 20% of the retirement planning process. All the rest of it falls into what we call a holistic retirement plan that we've organized into 6 steps on a staircase that we call the 6 steps to retirement confidence. Jeremy, why don't you take those and explain how they work?
Sure thing, Barry. The first step that you want to make sure you have done for your 6 steps of retirement confidence is going to be having a written income plan all the way to age 100. Now, obviously, we have no idea how long any of us may live, but we don't want to plan you to age 85, but you actually live to 92. The next step we want to look at is having some principal protection. We believe that everyone should have a portion of their assets that aren't subject to the whims of the market. And if we have a downturn like 2008, that there's a portion of your assets that will not be touched to market risk.
You know why that's important, Jeremy?
Why is that, Barry?
So you can sleep well at night.
There it is.
Because we want folks to be able to lay their head down on the pillow, and no matter what the news was that came in at 6 o'clock about how the markets closed that day, we want them to lay their head down on the pillow and say, everything is okay. And one of the ways they know it's okay is if they know how many years of income they have in protected principal before they ever need to touch their stock market investments. And so I think that's a really important concept on protected principal, step number 2.
Yes, it is. Then the third thing is going to be tax strategies, ideally reducing your retirement taxes to 0%, the 0% tax bracket in retirement. We find here that is one of the biggest and most important things you want to have done. And Barry likes to say all the time that if you don't get the taxes right, well, then none of it else really matters, because what we do here is we help people save, well, upwards of 6 figures on taxes over the course of their lifetime in retirement. The fourth step is you want to make sure you have the appropriate things in place for Medicare and long-term care provisioning. So if one of those events happen in your retirement life, that you have a good written plan that will help address that and solve that with dimes today instead of dollars tomorrow. The fifth step is, well, estate planning. You've worked so hard to get all those assets accumulated. Let's make sure that when you're gone, they get to the people, causes, and charities that you want to in the easiest way possible while avoiding probate. And then the sixth and final step is having a yearly strategy and tactics visit to make sure that we can review all those 5 other steps and address any of the issues that might have come up, if there's been any changes, and make sure that you're always in the best place possible to have confidence in retirement.
Matt and Barry and Jeremy, too, thank you for all that. We're going to continue our conversation on the Sunday Watts on Wealth and step number 6, why that is especially so important. This is Ralph Hipp with Barry Watts and Matt Dean and Jeremy Zickfuss. And stick around. We'll be back with more of our show and talk about step number 6 in just a moment.
Explore how Barry Watts can support your financial aspirations. Set a consultation by texting VISIT to 417-200-3500. Discover the possibilities at 417-200-3500 with a simple VISIT text.
Do you think you'll pay lower taxes in retirement? Really? Many people go into retirement assuming that, but end up paying as much, if not more, in taxes than when they were working. How taxes can affect your retirement is one of the chapters in Watts on Wealth, the latest book written by local tax strategist and retirement designer Barry Watts of the Wealthcare Corporation. Barry takes you through the many tax considerations you should make before you retire. To get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, call 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. The book is full of actionable retirement tips and strategies Barry has gathered from his more than 30-year career in helping families just like yours retire successfully. Get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, now by calling 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. Advisory services provided through Wealthcare Asset Management, LLC.
For a more confident retirement journey, get Barry Watts' Wealth Care Kit. Discover strategies addressing life's biggest retirement obstacles. Request yours by texting KIT to 417-200-3500. Again, that's KIT to 417-200-3500.
Welcome back in. We're here with our conversation, our roundtable, this lovely Sunday morning in Springfield on the Watts on Wealth radio show featuring Barry Watts of the Wealthcare Corporation of Springfield. Barry, we were discussing step number 6, and people might think, well, you know, the final chapter of your life, the final step is estate planning, but it's actually review. And why is that review in step 6 so critical and so important?
Well, the 6th step is actually strategy and tactics. And in strategy and tactics, we have an annual meeting where we sit down with our clients and review what has happened and what changes we need to make going forward. And the reason it's important is because things change. The stock market changes, tax laws change, your health changes, your spending needs change, your in-laws may change into outlaws. You know, Ralph, I live in Rogersville, I can't just wake up in the morning, point my car to the west towards Springfield and set it and forget it. On the trip in, I have to keep adjusting, steer a little bit right, steer a little bit left, slow down, speed up, because the roadway changes.
Exactly.
And the retirement roadway changes as well. In fact, here's an example of something that we found in a strategy review just this week. We had a client come in who had set up a number of accounts, but when they set up their IRA accounts, they had never named contingent beneficiaries on their IRA accounts. So his was going to the wife and the wife was going to him. But what happens if they died in a common accident? Or what happens if the wife didn't live after him? She died earlier than him, and that didn't get changed. We need to be sure that there's a place to go with that money in case the beneficiary number one is not going to be there. And that's why contingent beneficiaries are so important. And looking at beneficiaries is something we do at every annual strategy and tactics meetings to review them and be sure they're right. And in this case, we found some beneficiaries that were missing that needed to be changed. And so that's the kind of thing you fix in a strategy and tactics review. And if your advisor isn't looking at your beneficiaries every time you meet, I would suggest that you're not getting holistic retirement planning. Keeping these things tuned up is incredibly important.
And another big worry, especially now we hear about, is the market. It's up and down and all around. And it also, the market does kind of put a finger on the pulse of what's happening with tariffs around the world and what's happening with the Federal Reserve. Guys, how can retirees protect their wealth and still grow it? How do we, protecting principal is such an important concept, protecting what we've saved and still try to get it to be a little larger?
That's a great question, Ralph. Preserving wealth in a volatile market is a lot of the times different than people think it to be. One of the things that you have to consider is diversification. People think that if they have an investment account at multiple institutions or several accounts spread all over the place, that they might be diversified. And that's simply not the case.
Matt, one of the things that I really want to highlight about that is people think diversification is the holy grail. And so they're in pursuit of diversification. And I would say they're right that diversification is incredibly important. But I don't think people know what diversification is, because what you're saying is we see people who come in who have an account at this brokerage firm and that brokerage firm and that brokerage firm over there. And they think, well, I'm diversified. Look where I have all my accounts. No, you can have the same investment. In fact, you probably do have the same investment in each of those accounts at each of these different places. And sometimes people will think they're diversified because they've got a lot of mutual funds. And they'll say, well, I'm well diversified in the mutual funds. Well, here's what people don't know. A lot of the large mutual funds in America are what we call index huggers. They're tightly wrapped around the S&P 500 because the managers are paid bonuses based on how closely their performance mimics the S&P 500 index. And so they can't afford to get very far away from that index, because even if the index goes down, as long as they went down with the index, they still get their salary, they still get their bonuses. And those bonuses can be pretty big. In fact, when you guys find out how much bonus investment managers make at mutual fund companies, that may be the job that you ultimately want to choose. I'm joking. But they get paid better than any of us or all of us together.
And they certainly don't talk to each other, making sure that they're not overlapping in this mutual fund and that mutual fund. That's where I ultimately place the blame.
And overlap is the problem, because if you've got a fund that overlaps the S&P 500 90%, and then the next guy's got one that overlaps at 89%, and the next manager's got one that overlaps at 92%, you basically have the same fund. So you're paying a lot for that. And the reason you're paying a lot for that is because those money managers get paid a lot. Jeremy, we got a study on that. Tell us what it says.
Yeah, there's a 2020 study that looked at over 2,300 managers, and they averaged nearly about $2 million in compensation.
Ooh.
And those in the top 5%, they actually averaged $1.3 million in salary and $3.3 million in bonuses alone.
Well, and see, the way they get that bonus is how did they perform compared to the S&P 500? And as long as they're close in tolerance, whether they're ahead of it or behind it, even if it goes down, as long as they're close to the S&P 500, the bonus comes in. So you can make, in that case, about $4 million.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a mutual fund manager. And that's why the fees are so expensive in funds, and people don't know about these fees. And one of the funny things that happens is we teach a lot about fees. We help people understand fees. And sometimes when we teach people about fees, they get really sensitive, even though they didn't know what fees they were paying. They're sensitive to those fees. And then they start balking when we try to cut their fees in half. They say, well, that's still too much. No. It's half of what you were paying before. You just weren't paying attention. So, Ralph, I think the question you asked, though, was about how do we manage volatility? And the point is, diversification is not how you do it. Here's a way that you manage it. Diversification can do part of that. But you're going to want to manage it by separating your money into buckets based on when you're going to need to spend it. So your 1 year money that you're going to spend the next year should be invested in a way that has almost no volatility at all. Mm-hmm. Your 2 to 4 year money can have a little bit of fluctuation and it's going to grow at a little bit better interest rate. Money that you're not going to touch for 5 years, I would suggest, should be invested in the markets and let it move with the markets. And that means we're going to have some great performance. We're going to have some terrible performance and everything in between. And you're going to earn the average of all that. But if you're not using that money for 5 years, it's really not going to matter. And it circles back to the issue of protected principal.
Oh, Barry, you read my mind about protected principal. If you don't have any sort of investment structure that's going to deter against losses, you might be well diversified or you might have your buckets tiered out appropriately. But if the market still loses 28, 30% in 1 year, you're going right down there with it. Cut those losses out and preserve what you have for retirement.
And so we depend on some of the big investment banking corporations whose names you would all know, the biggest names in the business who you hear in the news all the time. And some of the big insurance companies is who we depend on to build those guaranteed products through annuities and other types of vehicles. And they are who keep people in a position where they can sleep well at night. So we think those are an important partner with people who are retiring, and we like people to have availability of that.
Very good, guys. And if diversification plus a little bucket strategy from Barry, is that the right move for you? Give them a call and get together face-to-face, and it's 417-200-3500, 200-3500 to speak with Barry and Matt and Jeremy, as we are doing right now, from the Wealth Care Corporation on the Watts on Wealth radio show. Well, another big concern is taxes. We are living in the Trump tax cut world for another 4 years or so. So with taxes the way they are now, and Billy Long not going to be commissioner of the IRS, by the way, how can we retirees in the Ozarks help minimize our taxes on our retirement income?
Well, Ralph, I've got a chapter on taxes in my book, Watts on Wealth, and we're happy to send a copy of that out to anyone who'd like a copy of the book. All they have to do is just text the word book, BOOK, to 417-200-3500. I'll autograph a copy and we'll put it in the mail to them on Monday morning, and they'll have it before the end of next week. So let's talk about what we talk about in the book and how to look at taxes overall. Here's the first rule that you need to have in mind. It's this. Don't pay taxes on capital gains. Don't pay taxes on capital gains. So there's some new legislation that allows you to defer and ultimately avoid paying capital gains tax out of your pocket on 100% of the capital gains that you experience in a year's time. So in the case of my $12 million guy I referred to earlier who didn't have time to sit with me and who just wanted me to tell him how to invest, and he was just too busy because he was an important guy. Well, he's going to pay $2.4 million in taxes when he does what he said he was getting ready to do. And all of that $2.4 million out of his pocket could be avoided if he would just stop. Now, if you're so busy that you can't afford to sit and visit for an hour and save $2.4 million doing it, well, doggone, your time is really valuable. I think he was a little self-important myself and he wasn't paying attention. So the first rule is avoid paying tax on capital gains. The second thing, though, that you need to consider about is this. What is your tax bracket going to be when you start taking required minimum distributions? And will Social Security be taxable? And will you pay IRMA penalties on your Medicare? And then what we discover, if you're going to pay tax on Social Security or penalties on IRMA, is you could actually move money from your IRA to your Roth account, cleanse it of taxes at lower rates now. So it will not cause your Social Security to be taxed or cause any extra cost on Medicare. And those costs can be up to about $6,000 a year. And so recently, I know one of my fellow co-hosts here had a client come in who had some money in a Roth account, and he did something kind of foolish with it. And that's the thing about wealth care. It's always your money. You can do whatever you want to do. But tell us about what this guy did that was a terrible mistake with his Roth account.
Oh, with his Roth account. Jog my memory a little bit more.
Well, there was a fellow who, I can tell a story. I thought you'd remember it. He had $200,000 sitting in his Roth account, and he moved it from his brokerage account and he'd been earning, I don't know, high single digits on that. He moved it over to a bank paying 3% in a CD. And so his tax-free asset, the asset that you want to grow the most, is the asset that he took and put away at the lowest possible rate. And all of his taxable assets, like his traditional IRA account and his brokerage account, he left them invested in stocks and mutual funds and things like that, where he would pay a tax rate of twice what he would have paid on, where his earnings, I should say, are growing at twice, and therefore twice as taxable as if he had just put that money over into the tax-free position. So he might have had a good idea. Maybe he needed some bank money. I'm not arguing with that. But the point is, he wanted to take his Roth, and he took his Roth and he put his Roth in the bank. You need to leave your Roth where it's growing, and you need to put some other money in the bank where it's earning a low rate, if that's what you want to do. So the point is, he didn't understand the value of the Roth, and he didn't understand the mistake he was making and what it was costing him. And that's what we try to help people do. It's an imperfect world, Ralph, but we try at the Wealth Care Corporation to help people avoid paying unnecessary taxes and other kinds of mistakes with their investment accounts. And I will tell you, we often see them. We had a case recently where we explained so clearly what this person needed to do that he said, "Oh, I can do that myself." Well, the funny thing is, he hasn't done it himself in 60 years. Why would he do it now? And by the way, following our advice was going to save him about $1 million in taxes. And he said, "Well, I'm a smart guy. I can do it myself." And the answer is, no, you can't. Because if you could, you already would have. And so come see us. Let us help you. That's what we do at the Wealth Care Corporation.
Talking all kinds of retirement planning issues with Barry Watts and Matt Dean and Jeremy Zickafuss of the Wealth Care Corporation. And once again, Barry's book is called Watts on Wealth. Our radio show is Watts on Wealth. Our television show is Watts on Wealth. And we're on KY3 and Color 10 and KSPR and all the channels in Springfield and right here with you on the radio. Once again, that number to have your conversation. We're not going to bring in any microphones or cameras. It's just you and Barry and Matt and Jeremy, whoever you'd like to chat with. And it's 417-200-3500. That important number, 417-200-3500. I'm your host, Ralph Hipp, and we'll take a break on Watts on Wealth and resume our conversation in just a minute or two. Don't go away.
Unsure of how market volatility might impact your investments? Speak with Barry Watts, who can offer strategies tailored to withstand market fluctuations. Just text VISIT to 417-200-3500 to meet with Barry Watts today. Again, text VISIT to 417-200-3500.
Do you think you'll pay lower taxes in retirement? Really? Many people go into retirement assuming that, but end up paying as much, if not more, in taxes than when they were working. How taxes can affect your retirement is one of the chapters in Watts on Wealth, the latest book written by local tax strategist and retirement designer Barry Watts of the Wealth Care Corporation. Barry takes you through the many tax considerations you should make before you retire. To get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, call 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. The book is full of actionable retirement tips and strategies Barry has gathered from his more than 30-year career in helping families just like yours retire successfully. Get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, now by calling 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. Advisory services provided through Wealthcare Asset Management, LLC.
Prepare for retirement with key insights from Barry Watts' Wealth Care Kit. Get your essential guide by texting KIT to 417-200-3500 and start planning today. That's 417-200-3500, KIT.
We're so proud of you for hanging in, hopefully for the whole hour of the Watts on Wealth radio show. I'm Ralph Hipp, along with Barry Watts of the Wealth Care Corporation at Highway 65 and Battlefield Road, alongside with Jeremy Zickafuss and Matt Dean. If you're joining us now, we're talking about ways to protect and grow your wealth as you approach retirement around Springfield. We hope you stay in the area and stay with Barry. So let's talk about creating some reliable income streams. You know, we talk about putting your money in the nest egg and pulling it out, but it's really all about how do you create that that dependable income stream in retirement. So what are some of the strategies, gentlemen, that retirees around the Ozarks can use to make sure that they don't outlive their savings, outlive their money?
Well, Ralph, the first thing that's got to happen is you got to do basic math. And the question is this: is it possible to not outlive your money? Because it is very possible for many people. Most of our clients will come nowhere near outliving their money, but not all of them. Sometimes we have people show up, and I was reviewing a case with the advisors earlier this week where the folks were going to run out of money at age 80. And so obviously that's a problem. But if you have that problem, isn't it better to know that now? So because then what we can do is we can help them with some advice, and it might not get them all the way to 100, but maybe it gets them to age 85 or age 90. And if we can get them to age 90, well, that's only 10 years that you got to work down at McDonald's and say, would you like fries with that if you live to age 100? and not everybody's going to live to 100.
That's an interesting picture there, Barry. A 100-year-old working at McDonald's. Would you like fries with that?
Well, we got them at Rogersville. No, that's not true. That's not quite true. But we have them somewhere. I see them sometimes.
They're out there.
So you got to know how to do the math. But there's a second thing that comes into play there. Jeremy, talk about what that is, please.
Well, the second thing is you want to have strategies that help you with that, sources of guaranteed income. Stuff like Social Security, maybe if you have a pension or even annuities can be those good sources. And other income sources could also be, dividends, stocks, investments from, bank option notes. We actually saw one that was paying at about 10% per year, so a little less than 1% per month. And that may or may not be available next week. So who knows? But we can be able to help get you these different sources of income in retirement, but you want to make sure that you're optimizing it.
Oh, and that is your specialty area. Talk to us about optimizing Social Security.
Well, yes. So one of the main sources of income that we see retirees have in retirement is, Social Security. And just because you can take it at 62 when you're first eligible doesn't necessarily mean that is the best thing for you to be taking. Also, you could wait till age 70 and get the largest benefit possible, but that doesn't mean that's also in your best interest. What you have to do is you have to run all the numbers, do a lot of math, like Barry's mentioning, to find out when is the optimal time to claim your Social Security benefit for not only yourself, but also your spouse. An interesting stat I actually saw the other day, Barry, was, do you want to take a guess on how many people actually claim their Social Security benefit at the optimal time?
Oh, less than 10%. I would guess less than 5%. Probably.
It's 4% actually. Yeah. So 4% of people actually get it right. And the other 96% of people, they're leaving money on the table and they don't even know it.
Do you know the age at which most people, the majority of folks, take Social Security?
I actually don't know the average age that they claim.
I believe I remember seeing that it was 62.
It is 62.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people think 62, I'm going to get it. And what they don't know is if you take it at age 62 and you continue working or earning income from any other source, well, you're going to give back 50 cents for every dollar that you make beyond about $22,000. And so if you're still working, it's foolish to take your Social Security at 62. Now, I heard a case where some people went down to the Social Security office and they asked, what should I do? And first of all, Social Security can't give you any advice. Mm-hmm. So you shouldn't ask them because they're not allowed to give you advice. But in this particular case, the lady behind the desk at Social Security said, I can't give you any advice, but I'll tell you what I'd do if it's mine. I'd take it. Well, I'm not sure she's qualified to do that kind of retirement planning analysis because she didn't know what their tax situation was, what their other sources of income were, whether they were continuing to work or not. So there's a lot to be done with this issue of Social Security claiming. And here at the Wealth Care Corporation, one of the things that we'll do if you come see us is we'll sit down and we'll figure out when is the best time for you to take Social Security. We'll show you your options, and then you can pick the one that fits your foot the best. And that's the most comfortable shoe for anybody to wear.
Gentlemen, and for me, I'm marking 3 years of being retired from television news, 3 years since I got out of the business and got with Barry. And I started taking Social Security at 68 and a half, and it was sweet. That was a good spot to be in.
So that was full retirement age for you, I'm guessing. No, it was a little after full retirement age.
Yeah, yeah. FRA,
so that
as
means,
we call it. Yeah.
So every year after full retirement age, which is currently 67,
for most people.
So you earned an extra 8% for that 1 year that you waited.
Great.
And your check increased another 4% for that 6 months that you waited. So you're earning about 12% more, Ralph, than you would have earned if you had taken it at full retirement age. And one of the reasons that could be very important is I just saw a statistic last night that said what you could do with a dollar I should say it this way. A dollar today has only got the buying power of about 75 cents compared to what a dollar would buy you in 2000 when COVID hit.
I had an interesting conversation with some people about estate and legacy planning and, the passing on of your faith and passing on your values to your kids. And that was interesting. But I want to get into the money. And Barry and Matt and Jeremy, a lot of our listeners, they want to leave money, leave a legacy for their loved ones. Can you talk about the steps they can take to make sure that their wealth is passed on effectively?
Well, when you are a client of the Wealthcare Corporation, you go through a process called the 6 Steps to Retirement Confidence.
Right.
Because what we do is we isolate the areas where a person doesn't have confidence, or they have some concerns, maybe some weaknesses. And then we bolster those weaknesses or concerns. We strengthen them so they become strong spots instead, so that you as a retiree can have confidence when you walk into retirement that it's all going to be okay. And that's a part of the 6 steps. Step number 5 happens to be estate planning. And here's the big deal you need to understand. You can direct and control what happens to all of your assets when you die. It could go exactly as you wanted it to go. But if you don't direct it and control it while you're still living and tell people what you want done, then the state of Missouri will step in and they will say, well, here's what's going to happen with your money. And it may or may not be what you would have preferred to happen. So you need to develop a plan through the use of wills and trusts, and we can help walk you through that process and kind of how to think about those things and direct you to and introduce you to the attorneys to get those kinds of things drafted for you if that's what you need. But here's the deal, Ralph. Failing to plan can create hard feelings with your children, and it causes the lawyers to get paid thousands of dollars of your estate when you die unnecessarily. Do you really love your local lawyer more than you do your children? Because he or she is going to get a part of that money if you don't do some estate planning. It's really important. At the Wealthcare Corporation, Jeremy, Matt, me, we're all able to sit down and have that talk with you, help you understand how things fit together, and we can help you get your estate plan on pace. So all you've got to do is reach out to us by calling the number that Ralph's about to give you.
Yes, it's 417-200-3500. If you're a regular listener of the Watts on Wealth radio show, you know it by heart. Hopefully you've got it in your phone. You can just tap contacts. I need to talk to Barry. Boop, there it goes, 417-200-3500. And would you like to add anything, Barry, about would you talk with someone in a face-by-face complimentary conference only on estate planning, or do you go through all the other steps before leading to estate planning? Can you discuss the estate and legacy alone? Is it a standalone?
When people come to see us, we talk about what they want to talk about.
Oh, good.
We ask them what their issues are.
Right.
And certainly estate and legacy planning may be an issue, but one of the things that's going to affect your legacy that you leave, your financial estate, is going to be how you pay taxes. So if you really want to talk about that, well, we need to talk about taxes. And one of the things that drives taxes is how much income you're going to have. So we need to talk about income. So the point is, Ralph, all of these things work together. It's holistic. It's like you going to the doctor and saying, now, doctor, I don't want you to listen to my heart. I've just got a sore toe. I want you to pay attention to my sore toe. Well, maybe the problem is you've got an infection in your sore toe, and that infection is creeping up your leg, and it's going to affect your heart. And you need to let the doctor do an entire examination. And that's the way we work at the Wealthcare Corporation.
Well, in wrapping all this up, for those of us, we just feel queasy, we're uncertain. If we're watching the news a lot or if we've turned the news off, we just don't feel good about going into retirement. What would you say to them?
Well, I understand because you've never retired before. How often do you feel confident doing something for the first time? Not very often.
Hopefully only once.
Yeah, and you do only want to do it once, so you better get it right. What I want to say to people is you don't have to be afraid. The key is finding someone that you can trust. And if it's not us, that's fine. Go talk to somebody else. But you need to find someone that you can trust. And a way to perhaps uncover whether you can trust someone is something we do here at WealthCare. We'll actually let you talk to our other clients, other people who have trusted us in previous years. One recently said it was the best decision she had ever made. Well, that's a pretty big order. Her husband was standing there beside her when she said that. I'm not sure how he felt about that one. But the point is, you can sit with us and talk with us and ask questions. You can see our process. You can talk with our clients. And you can decide for yourself whether or not WealthCare is the firm to take care of you and your family. And whoever it is that you choose to work with, whether it's with us or someone else, just be sure that they have a process and that they can show you what the process is from step to step to step, that it is holistic. It has to include taxes. If they won't talk to you about strategic tax planning and the ways to avoid tax, then you're at the wrong place. And if they want to talk about your investments first, I would suggest to you that's a very bad sign. So there are some tips to help you kind of think about how to find the right people to help you. Talk to someone. You shouldn't do this by yourself. There's too much at risk to make a mistake.
There sure is. Thank you, gentlemen, for this. This has been great. And Barry and I sure want to remind you as we close out talking about this main topic of preserving what you've saved and hanging on to it and growing it about this part of your wealth management. Don't let that worry and the uncertainty hold you back. Do it today and don't delay. You can even text the word visit right now this Sunday to 417-200-3500. Set up that free consultation. And aren't Barry and Matt and Jeremy awesome? And I love just sitting and listening to you talk in our roundtable discussion. The time slots with their wisdom, they do fill up quickly. So take charge, take control, and call right now in Springfield, 200-3500. Barry, you ready for our mailbag questions coming up in a moment or so here?
I'm excited about it, Ralph.
Yeah.
Mailbag's my favorite thing to do because I don't have to prepare for it at all. I can just fire off the hip. And hopefully I fire accurately. So
that's right.
When we come back, I'll be anxious to do that.
All right. Time for a break here on Watts on Wealth, and we'll dig into Barry's email inbox in just a moment or so. And this is a really good part of the show. Don't go away.
Curious about securing your financial future? Barry Watts brings expertise to your retirement plans. Arrange a meeting by texting VISIT to 417-200-3500. Again, it's VISIT to 417-200-3500.
Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will your roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a pretty good run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather a financial storm? Now may be a great time to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. Call Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare at 417-200-3500 now. They'll examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare today at 417-200-3500 to get your no-obligation second opinion. Don't let your retirement get caught in the rain. Call 417-200-3500. Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk.
Market volatility can be daunting, but having a strategy in place can provide stability amidst the uncertainty. Consult with us to learn about approaches that address market ups and downs. Call 417-200-3500 to set an appointment and secure your financial footing. Again, just call 417-200-3500.
Barry gets all kinds of interesting questions each and every week for our Sunday shows, television and radio, about all things dealing with retirement. So time to dig into that Watts on Wealth mailbag, that email inbox, and go over some of your common retirement questions. And Barry, you've already said you're ready, so here we go. And Jim in Ozark wants to know, asking you, one of our neighbors admitted they fell for a scam and they lost a few $1,000s. It's got me on high alert. My antenna are up right now. How do I make sure, especially in retirement, I don't become a scam victim?
Well, I think the first thing you do, Ralph, is you use common sense. It sounds too good to be true. Maybe it is. And one of the things that people often appeal to is our greed. And we all can be greedy at some level if we're not very careful. And so you, I think, probably know when you're being greedy. So just ask yourself, are you expressing a little greed juice out of your gland? Maybe it's time for you to back up and catch your breath and not rush into something if it's stimulating your need for greed. Second thing I would ask this is it being offered by a well-established firm, or is it a guy working out of the back of his car? And I would say never work with someone who wants to come to your kitchen table. If they don't have a professional office, just say no, thank you. And you want to work with somebody who's been doing this a long time, and you need to be able to demonstrate that. You need to look them up and find out how long they've been in the business. You look me up, you'll find I've been there 32 years since I first started. And we could argue longer than that, but I won't even go back that far. A question I would always ask is that person a fiduciary? So fiduciaries are required to do what is best for you, make the decision that's best for you and not for them. And those are some ways that you avoid becoming a victim of a scam. I always think the best way, though, Ralph, is talk to some of their existing clients. We let people talk with our clients here at WealthCare, And our clients then explain to them what we do and how we've helped them.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot of people become comfortable.
Oh, very good. I would mention a couple of things here when they say, hey, you need to do this by 5 o'clock today and send us your information. And that's a dead giveaway and a red flag on that. However, when I say you need to call Barry today, that's a different thing. The first complimentary conference, free. So we're just encouraging you to call today, text the word visit, or call right away to Barry. And that's a different thing. But I would not delay on making that move at all. Alice in Omaha. Does our show go all the way up to Nebraska? Or maybe
no, wait, Ralph. That's the wrong Omaha. It's not Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, it's not Nebraska?
Nope. There's an Omaha, Arkansas. So I don't think our show goes to Nebraska.
No, unless it's on the podcast.
Alice, I think, is in Omaha, Arkansas.
All right.
The reason I know Omaha is when I was a kid growing up, we used to buy posts in Omaha, Arkansas. There was a guy there who cut pine posts, and he soaked them in penetrate. Sort of creosote type stuff.
I know that smell.
We'd go down and buy a trailer load of pine posts and bring them back to me on the smell.
Yeah.
And they did stink. You're absolutely right. So anyway, that's Omaha, Arkansas. And apparently that's where Alice is from. Maybe she's in the post business. I don't know. Alice, what's her question, Ralph?
Well, she says, Barry, my mother's no longer interested in living in some kind of an assisted living facility. She wants to stay home here in Omaha, Arkansas, as long as she can. So she isn't around too many people regularly. And we sure understand that. I'm able to take care of my mom and happy to do it. Should she go ahead and cancel her long-term care insurance policy, being at home, or should we have her keep it a little while longer in case it doesn't work out for me to take care of her?
Sounds pretty risky to me, Jeremy. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be losing something if you don't know if you might need it. And so the first thing I'd want to know is, well, what her long-term care policy covers and how much benefit it actually provides, and maybe what the requirements are for that to start paying out.
Because they might want to keep it.
Oh yeah, she might want to keep it, and and you might, Alice might not want to be keep taking care of her for if this goes on for multiple years. And so some policies will actually pay a caregiver at home, and you might be that caregiver. So Alice could be actually getting paid for the work she's doing there. And you don't want to obviously be jumping the gun. Talk to the agent, call the company, or you could come see us and we'd be happy to look it over and tell you what you got there.
Yeah, it's just important to know what you've got before you make a decision about letting go of it. And you don't want to make a letting go of it decision until you know what you can move to, if you can move to anything. So just be cautious about letting go too rapidly.
Guys, I love visiting Nixa long ago and far away. Well, not too far away. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law, sister-in-law, they lived in Nixa. We'd go down all the time, but they're all gone now in one way or another, moved away or passed on. But great thoughts of Nixa. And in Nixa, Rachel writes, our daughter has a dream of starting her own business, or maybe in Nixa, but she needs some help with the startup costs. She asked us for a $20,000 loan to get started. Her plans look solid. There aren't any guarantees she could pay us back if her business fails and she loses the money. So should we still lend her that money? What do you think?
Well, no, I don't think you ought to lend her the money. I think you should give her the money instead, if you can afford to do that, with no expectation that she'll ever pay it back. The point is, loaning to family, even close family like your children, is fraught with peril. And so when you do loan money, you need to consider that money gone and anticipate that you'll never get it back. Now, I said no expectation she'll ever pay it back. I'm talking about internally. Externally, you may say, now here's the agreement. Here's when you're going to pay it back. Here's how you're going to pay it back. Here's what we're agreeing to do. And I would memorialize that in writing. There should be a formal written contract about all that. But in your heart, you need to say, if she never pays it back, it's okay. And if you can't loan her that money, then I wouldn't do it in the first place. So hopefully she'll succeed and you'll be paid back, but you shouldn't be waiting on that with bated breath.
Okay. We'll cross our fingers for her, whether that might be an investment in her business and not a loan. And next one here, guys. My wife and I are having some serious discussions about what we want to do in retirement. I've traveled with my work for years. I just want some peace and quiet and time to go fish around the Ozarks and all over our beautiful lakes. My wife stayed home to raise our two sons, and she's been telling our friends all about the places we're going to go once I retire. So she's got some big travel plans. I'm done traveling for good. I don't know how to tell her, so now what?
Well, I've got some serious advice for you. Keep your mouth shut and pack your bags. And while you're at it, follow Proverbs 5:18, which says, rejoice in the wife of your youth. My Kelly is such a great supporter, and I am so grateful for her. I'll take her anywhere she wants to go, and if she ever leaves me, I'm going with her. So I'll just call your attention to one of the statements that you made. You said, my wife stayed home to raise our sons. What a blessing that is. What a great contribution to your family she made. What a great contribution to the world that she made when she raised those boys. So what you need to do is pull your head out and get focused on this woman who has been such a blessing to all of you for all of these years, and take her on a trip. I would suggest you start with Scotland. It's beautiful over there, and you can understand the language.
Very good. And yes, indeed. Great to include some Proverbs in there. Our next one here. My mother just passed away, and now I feel like all our family does is argue over what to do with her house and who will take care of what. This kind of ties back into our legacy and estate planning question we had a while ago. My siblings and I, we're all in our 60s now, but it feels like we're kids again. I don't know if you can help us with our arguments, Barry. Could you please tell people why it's so important to take care of those decisions ahead of time? And once again, you had talked about some of this earlier.
Well, Matt, what's the first thing that you would want to know here?
Well, did she leave any instructions?
Yeah. And those instructions, I mean, they're not binding if she just wrote them on a piece of paper and put them in the kitchen drawer.
And yeah, where are they? Yeah.
That would give you an idea, but better than that, hopefully she left her instructions in the form of a will, or better, even in the form of a trust, or even better by putting beneficiaries on at least all the financial accounts and the real estate and things of that nature. So what I would suggest to a family in this case is you need to call the auctioneer. You need to have the auction and split the proceeds evenly. And somebody says, well, you can't sell that cupboard. I love this cupboard. It used to hold my favorite plate. Guess what? You can buy that cupboard at the auction for whatever its fair price is. Whoever bids the most will own it, and you'll pay that, and then the money will get split among the kids once again. So that's the best way to handle it. You know, Ralph, I'm always kind of, offended isn't the word, but I think it's foolish. There we go. It's foolish when people haven't dealt with their estate planning. In fact, I just talked to my estate planning lawyer this week, and we were working on these very things for me. And you know why I did that, Ralph? Because I am going to die someday, but not just me. You are going to die someday. And the Bible says in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27, it is appointed to man and women, ladies, you don't get out of this. It's appointed to man once to die, and then comes judgment. Now, you need to deal with the judgment part, because that's going to be a serious day when you stand before God. We'd love to help you with that, but that's not what we're talking about here at this moment. What you really need to do is you need to make this as easy as possible on your family, and you do that by getting your affairs in order. Call the lawyer, get a will or a trust or whatever you need. If you don't know where to begin, call us, and we'll sit down with you and kind of help you sort through it and get you pointed in the right direction.
And to do that and do it right away, friends, 417-200-3500 to Barry and Matt and Jeremy, 200-3500 all around Springfield, wherever you're listening to our show. And let's dig in. I think we have time for one more, Barry. I'm still quite a few years away from retiring, but I have no idea what my savings target ought to be. A lot of people think it's $1 million. How much might I need to save so I'd have a comfortable retirement?
Totally wrong question, Ralph.
Wrong question.
You should not target a specific amount of retirement savings. I need $1 million. I need $2 million or something like that. Instead, you should target a specific amount of retirement income. We call it sitting on the porch money. How much retirement income do you need every month coming into your checking account? And once we know that, then we can back into how much money you'll need to save in order to have your sitting on the porch money. It's all a part of step one. Our monthly retirement income planning process is the first step in the 6 steps to retirement confidence. And that process is only available to you at the Wealthcare Corporation. We'd be happy to share it if you'll give us a call.
And our dear friends, we've been happy to share this hour with you. That's going to put the top on this program for this weekend. Hope you'll join us on the TV side and on the radio side again, right here Sunday morning on The Talk. And Barry and Matt and Jeremy, thanks for your expertise. We've enjoyed the hour, gentlemen.
Good to be with you today, Ralph.
Good to see you, Ralph.
Yep, thank you for having us.
Until next time, this is Ralph Hipp for Barry Watts, Matt Dean, Jeremy Sikafus, and hope you'll join us again next Sunday right here for Watts on Wealth.
Thank you for stopping by Watts on Wealth. If you would like Barry and his team to help you make a plan to get to and through retirement, or would simply like a second opinion on your current plan, give us a call today at 417-200-3500. That's 417-200-3500. And join us again next week for Watts on Wealth.
WealthCare Corporation provides tax strategy, tax compliance, accounting, and insurance services through its affiliate American Tax Strategies, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance never guarantees future results. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as the basis for personal financial decisions without first consulting a qualified advisor. The information and opinions you've heard are believed reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness.